What's up, you guys? We are back for Do That But Better. I'm Zach, here with my brother Eric. Eric, how you been doing?
Doing well, enjoying this summer now, the transition into summer.
Yeah, what have you been spending your time doing?
Let's see, cutting grass,
Ooh.
trimming trees and bushes, going to the park.
As you can see, I have a sweatshirt on, so that's how summer's going. But it's actually it is pretty nice out, but it's been a little bit chilly. Yesterday it was like sweatshirt, then crazy humid, and then just warm and temperate. It's been a little bit crazy, but I'm really enjoying that it's like it's summer now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. We had like 2 weeks of 80s, like
Hmm.
high 80s,
Yeah,
and then snow and rain, and now it's been nice and mild. I'm
hmm.
like, man, this doesn't even feel like summer yet,
That's
but I'm okay
awesome.
with it. Feels great.
Yeah.
Good for working out in the garage and going for runs outside.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, I've been even thinking about running. I don't know how long that's gonna last. I did sign up for a half marathon, so I might get a day or two in the next few months.
Right. The, yeah. After talking with Carly and,
Yes.
getting some training
I was like,
ideas.
all right, 2 days. Now, 2 days a week or 2 days a year should I be doing?
She,
But
what you took away was cut your mileage by 90%.
yep. Well, so 90% of zero, what is that?
Yep. So the less running, the better I am at it. Perfect.
I'm gonna be great. I'll tell you what, I do love, and I think that a lot of this has to do with CrossFit and functionality and just work capacity. But so many things you step away from for a while and then you just get better. And sometimes I think, and now I'm not saying that the best way to get good at stuff is to stop doing it, but when you are a novice, that it's easy to do.
See, I was thinking like if you've got a base
Hmm.
formerly, then I think yes, the less I practice, the better I am. So if I take like a year off and then someone's like, "Hey, we need someone to sub for our soccer team,"
Yeah.
I show up and I crush. But if I join a league, then I start up here and the more I play, then it starts to like deteriorate.
Right.
So I have to only play every once in a while
So
to
you
be
stay
my
top notch.
yeah.
Yes. But you know what? So actually, I was talking to my kids about this because so Shane he was playing basketball like over the winter, and then he went back to baseball, and he felt like he was better. And it was like, yeah, so number one, you were still working on work capacity, and you were training other things. You're still learning these like movement patterns and things like that, and so you're growing. You're learning it from different spaces,
Hmm.
and I think that that's huge. And actually, just recently, I really started skateboarding more. So actually, on Sundays, we've been going to the skate park. And what like after, I mean, it's got to be close to 15, 20 years of really taking some time off. You know,
AKA not skateboarding.
yeah. So it was like I might pick it up and just like ride up and down the street or whatever. But we went to the skate park. We're on the mini ramp. Where I was doing board slides and things like that. And now I have like a different focus point of like, what are my feet doing? It's like I'm not just trying this. I'm like, no, I'm really trying to focus on what pieces. It's not like, are my feet gonna be on the board when I land? It's like, put your feet on the board when you land. And like, dialing into these little minutiae, I think was different. And it's
Hmm.
it's pretty awesome.
That makes me want. I don't know if you follow Tony Hawk,
Hmm.
but he broke his femur
Yeah.
a couple months ago, and he's been posting videos as he's like getting back on the half pipe, and I feel like
Hmm.
it's very much that
Yeah.
where he's doing like super simple things, and it is that like just focusing on those very small, specific pieces.
Yeah. Master the basics. And
Yep.
once you master the basics, start again, and this time pay more attention.
Yep. And
And
that goes for not only exercise, but your nutrition as well, which
boom.
is what we're actually talking about today.
Yes. We're not going to talk about skateboarding. We can talk about skateboarding. But yeah, well, so Eric, so speaking of food, if you are what you eat, what do you eat? What are you?
Mm, the best food.
Mm.
Let's see. What do I eat? Eggs. A lot of eggs. A lot of beef, chicken, lettuce, broccoli, carrots, um, rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, onions, garlic. That's the core of me.
Yeah. And I love that, so I feel like, we should have a general base of quality food. And in the food space, and actually like quality food, meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little stars, no sugar. And this should be our base. And in the world of nutrition, there's so much talk about macros and if it fits your macros. And people are on MyFitnessPal and how should I set it up, right? And so
Mm,
diving into like what this stuff is and why does it even matter? Like why does it matter if you're hitting your macros or not? I think is a super important topic to go over. So it's not just I'm doing this thing. I've seen so many people who they're like I'm tracking all my food in MyFitnessPal, and it's like great, you're not hitting a number on it. It's like you're putting it in, and I'll tell you what. At first, it sounds like oh
step
that's
one.
stupid. That is 100% step one. You need to start doing it, and then we can refine it. And
Hmm.
actually, like this is something that I talk about with every member that comes in, like not even just with nutrition. It's like when you're starting a new habit, when you're exercising, you need to do it and screw up, and you have to know that hey, I'm going to screw this up, and then we can refine it. But if you try nothing, then you're definitely not going to make progress.
Yeah. And I mean, these things, just like any habit, it is, it's a brain thing. Like it's a skill, a
Mhm.
neurological skill and a habit. So think of it like playing the piano. You start out fumbling through Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, right? And you gradually improve the more you practice. And so anything that is neurological is the same thing. Like you can't just snap and do it and now I've got it. Like Neo getting uploaded with Kung Fu.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
What? No,
Nope.
that we need people to comment. From the Matrix.
Mm.
They plug him in and it's like they download stuff and then he wakes up and he's like, I know Kung Fu.
All right. That's sort of like me. I don't do kung fu, and then all of a sudden I know how to do it.
You and Eloise both. She's been telling me. She's like, yeah, Dimitri, the 7-year-old next door, taught me karate. So
Oh,
I know it.
nice.
I'm like, oh, really? Because he doesn't go to karate.
Well, it's funny. I used to have dad teach me karate. He'd be like, "All right, knife hand." I'm like, "All right."
Same. I know. I had like the karate gi pajamas. And so I was like, I think I know karate.
So strangely enough, my kids were just watching The Matrix the other day,
It's a good one.
but I fell asleep during it. Well, way back when it came out. So yeah, I did not watch it again, and so I know nothing about it. But yeah, so
Wow.
yeah,
You're missing a major cultural touchstone.
yeah, I don't even care. I felt like it was stupid. But all right, so um, you know, when going into nutrition, lots of times we want to jump into the like, all right, what is the thing that's going to get me there, right? Um, Now, the thing is that we lots of times have different goals. So it could be body composition, it could be overall health. You go, hey, I got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and what should I do? And hey, I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight, right? I want to gain more muscle. I want to perform better in my runs, whatever it is. But it's always going to start with quality food. So eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. This is going to be um, number one, the best way to get your food in. It's going to be the most nutrient dense. And if we do just this, this is going to be a hedge against chronic disease. All right. So we're getting the nutrients that we need. We're high quality. We're eliminating processed foods. And processed foods are going to, so anything that you can't find in nature and have it on the table in an hour is probably something that we're going to stay away from for the most part. Now, this has been CrossFit's prescription since the beginning, right? So get the quality food in. And there's been a big push into, hey, you can get body composition without eating quality foods, right? So, hey, I get to have more sugar. I get to, donuts and deadlifts and, all this other kind of stuff. And they're right. You can have good body composition. You can even perform pretty well with doses of sugar and things like that. But if we're looking for long-term health, we need to go back to that quality food first. But when it comes to body composition, macros are going to be super important. And even in performance, macros are going to be super important. So how much of each, let's say, food group am I getting? And is it supplying me the energy and the recovery that I need? So now we're bringing in macros. This is going to bring precision and to the quantity of what we're eating. Ideally, we're going to be doing this with quality food, but when we use macros, we're able to go a little bit off the path and still stay with body composition, performance, and things like that.
Yeah, and really, and when you're thinking about it, I feel like it's easy to wonder, like, why? Why do I need this? And I just think through the history of food in the U.S. that you used to be eating stuff that you grew at home, right? I think it was, I don't know, in like the 50s maybe, that something like 80% of all of the food was in people's homes, like in your cellar. And then by like, I don't know, 70s or 80s, all stats are made up anyway. Then it flipped. Right. That 80% of the food is in the stores. And so it has to be shelf stable. And your proteins are not shelf stable, right? Like you get protein powders. That's pretty much it. Like it's hard to keep your meat good. In the aisle at the grocery store. But your carbs, your processed carbs are pretty easy, and your processed fats. And so that's why, like, paying attention to the macros, it's become necessary, because you could go through a totally normal day of eating for the majority of people in the US, and you're going to eat a mountain of carbs and probably a mountain of fat and very little protein. And so, like, we've gotten to a point where you have to pay attention. Like, you have to actually know what things are what macronutrient, so that when you're eating, you can make the right choices for you instead of the right choices for the advertisers selling you the food.
There is not going to be a day that goes by that you're not going to be bombarded with carbs and fats, right? But there is going to be a day that goes by that is not going to be that you're not going to be bombarded with protein, like lean proteins and vegetables.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important. Like, like when I definitely got into CrossFit, especially when, paleo, and it was like, all right, carbs are out, right? And it was almost like a fear of them. And I'll tell you what, I almost feel like it needs to come back. And for most people, right?
Yeah.
Most people are not going to the CrossFit Games. They're not. So even if I'm training for a marathon, if I'm training for all this stuff, and Kelly said it just the other day, Carly, sorry, she said it just the other day that she's elite athlete doing marathons, and she's not eating crazy amounts of carbohydrates, right?
Hmm.
It's not necessary. And it's almost like we need to start that war on carbs again. There was the Atkins, then there was keto, there's, all these things that it's still been going on, but it's sort of, I feel like it ebbs and flows a little bit.
Yeah.
But these are dangerous things because they're so accessible. It's so easy and they are good. But it's like, you know what? If you're looking to lose 20 plus pounds, right? Um, this is one place that I would start looking is,
Yeah.
am I eating these processed foods, which is probably going to increase your carbohydrate load, which now I have excess carbohydrates, right?
Yeah.
And
It blows
go
my
ahead.
mind every time if someone's like, I'm gonna try gluten free, or well, yeah, that's usually what comes up. And they're
Mhm.
like, what do I eat? Like posting on Facebook. I don't even know what to eat. And I'm like, how much pasta and crackers are you eating? And
I,
bread, right? Like,
I,
because I
so
know like that's where we were too. I know Lisa you loved bagels. That
yeah,
was like
bagels and cream cheese,
yep, a staple.
grilled cheese, right? Super easy. And like in our house, it was a cheese quesadilla. So
Hmm.
we had tortillas in the house, especially because I was gluten free, and so we had corn tortillas and cheese. And if we wanted a snack, we had that or the tortilla with butter and Parmesan. I said that's sort of weird. Parmesan? I don't know. But anyway, but this is yeah. But actually, talk to a vegetarian. All right. Now, I have no problem with somebody being vegetarian, but I often find that people take on the title of vegetarian because they want to eat healthy, they want to lose weight, like whatever it is. And guess what vegetarians eat? They eat bread, crackers, cheese, pizza, potatoes, French fries, right? Because guess what? It's still freaking hard to get protein and vegetables,
Yeah.
right? And so you need to prepare them. And I dare you to start, if you are a vegetarian and you were doing it for body composition issues, right? So just losing weight or whatever it is. I want you to write down everything you eat and start seeing how often it is crackers and cheese because those are the easy things to eat.
Yeah.
All right, so if we're going into our macros, all right, we've got three defining macronutrients that are in our food. So anything that you're eating is probably going to have these, and we'll give a fourth one that's sort of. All right, so we've got protein, carbs, and fat, and then we've got alcohol. So let's take that one just because it's a weird one first. All right. So alcohol, it is a macronutrient, but uh, it's it's something that we're not necessarily going to eat all the time.
Hmm.
And it's not in just your normal things. It has to be processed to get it, right? And so alcohol. Now, one big thing with this is when people are tracking their macros and they're looking at their cans of Trulies and like all this. They're like, hey, it's only got 4 grams of carbs, but it still has 100 calories, but it doesn't have protein or fat. This is one thing that throws people off. All right. So every macronutrient has a calorie prescription to it. So alcohol has 7 calories per gram. All right. Carbs and protein have 4, and fat has 9. Okay. So now when you look at the nutrition facts on your Truly or whatever else you're drinking, and you're like, hey, this only has 4 grams of carbs. Ideally, this would have 16 calories, but all of a sudden it has 100, and you're like, why is that? Because alcohol is another macronutrient, so you have to count it when you're tracking your food, and especially if you're looking for total calories.
Hmm.
All right. All right. Then we've got two. Um, so out of these other three, all right, that most people are going to be tracking, we've got protein, carbs, and fat. There's two nutrients that are necessary for life. All right, Eric. Which ones we got?
Protein and fat.
Yes. All right. They are necessary
That
for life.
marathoners.
There you go. All right. Now, that doesn't mean that carbohydrates are bad, but it means that they're not necessary. All right. Your body needs blood sugar. All right. And when you think about carbohydrates, you think about sugar, and know that it's not only just table sugar, it's like glucose, right? So any of your carbohydrates are going to be, they're going to be giving you glucose, and some in denser forms. So usually your starches and sugars and stuff like that. But protein, you need every muscle in your, or every cell in your body is comprised of protein. It's built of it. Fat is going to be necessary for hormone
production.
Hormone production. All right. And we can function outside of that. All right. So just with those two. So Eric, protein. All right. So sources of protein, how do we get it? What do we need it for?
The densest, best ways to find it is animal protein. So your beef, fish, chicken, turkey, pork,
Eggs.
Wild game, eggs. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And
we animals are full of it, right? Whatever muscle you're eating is dense protein. So you can get it in other stuff. You can get it in, I mean, beans, potatoes, whatever. But it's not nearly as much, and you're not going to get the same quality. So, you know, we say that protein is necessary. Really, there are specific amino acids that make up protein that we need. And so, if you're eating plants, they have some of those amino acids, but not all of them, typically in like one plant. But when you eat any sort of animal protein, you're getting everything you need all in one bite.
So yeah, and so then we're being more efficient, right? And a lot of your plant sources are going to be sources of other things also, so or other macronutrients. So you've got, you know, most people go to peanuts, right? Peanuts, peanut butter, and they're like, all right, I am going to have peanuts because I need protein. And nuts have, I think, 16 grams of fat. Like, so actually 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, right? So 1 serving has, if I'm not mistaken, 16 grams of fat, 8 grams of carbs, and like 7 grams of protein, right? And it's not a complete protein, right? So not only am I getting all these other things and actually in higher doses, but I'm I need to pair it with other things so that I'm getting the complete proteins for these building blocks, right? Yeah. So those amino acids, and so it's just more effective to do that, right? So now, if you are vegetarian or something like that, you have to do this intelligently. So it's not undoable. It's just difficult.
Yeah. So take some work, take some planning.
Right.
A lot of food prep.
Yeah. So so getting the protein in is going to be super important, right? And then fats also. So, and now when we're talking about fats, I think that this is one that is really misunderstood. You know, so number one, the word fat just has bad connotations because we're like, I don't want to get fat. And biggest thing is fat does not make you fat. So excess calories make you fat. And yeah, they should really change the name, either of the macronutrient or of body fat. Like, so we should call this something else. But these are going to be important. They're going to help regulate hormones, right? They're also going to make us feel full longer, right? And so when we're talking about fats, our best sources are going to be things like your oils. So natural oils like olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, things like that. We want to stay away from, and especially when we're first thinking about quality, right? We want to stay away from vegetable oils, canola oils, and man-made processed foods. This is Fats are also going to be, so just like we talked about with peanuts and cashews and almonds. All right, these are going to be good sources of fat. Avocados. What are some other uh, healthy fats?
Olives, butter.
Olives. There you go. Yeah. So again, real things that you can find and grow, and uh, yeah.
So you're
But
telling margarine is not actually healthier.
it's not a food. It's not real food.
It's a digestible,
Yeah.
ingestible plastic.
I can't believe it's not butter or food. Yeah. So, getting your fats in, and now here's the cool thing. So there are hormones, especially when it comes to weight loss, right? And really just health in general. There's two hormones that we're working on keeping in balance, and one is insulin, and one is glucagon. All right. Insulin is a storing hormone, and glucagon is a retrieving hormone, right? And so usually when we think of insulin, we think of diabetics, all right? So your body needs to produce it, and but we also don't want to overuse it. When we eat excess carbohydrates, your body needs to regulate your blood sugar. So carbohydrates are going to be insulin activating, right? So it's going to raise our blood sugar, and then you produce the insulin to bring it back down to normal, right? And if we're doing that, especially in high doses, often, right? So if I'm having lots of sugary drinks and starchy foods and just sugars and candy and anything like that, we're going to raise our blood sugar. And when your body is doing that often, and it's producing insulin very regularly. So let's take a healthy day, right? We have a bowl of cereal, right, with carbohydrates, and a glass of orange juice, right, and a big glass,
Like
and
in the pictures on the commercials.
like the pictures on the commercial, yeah,
The complete part of a complete breakfast.
right, and a bagel, right, and then for a snack, midday, and actually, and then we have our mocha latte, sugar sugar coffee, right? And then I have a healthy snack. I have a granola bar for a snack at midday. Then I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have a 6-inch sub with the baked chips and a diet pop, right? And then I'm gonna have whole grain pasta and and garlic bread and whatever, right? So I'm continuously like, oh man, I need to do something about this, right?
Mhm.
And so that those insulin levels are going up. When those insulin levels are up, we are storing fat. Your body goes, hey, I need to store this for later, and it starts putting it away. Now, on the other hand, and actually, that's also going to make you hungry, right? It's taking the calories that you
Well,
have in the bloodstream, and it's putting them stored away, and all of a sudden, like, so now my sugar comes down, and I go, oh man, like, why am I why is my energy down, right? It's because energy is stuck in your belly.
yeah. Yeah, and well, so that actually is a point where like those carbs can get stored in your muscles as glycogen and you use that right away for energy. But your muscles can only store so much. So once
Hmm.
that's topped off, then it's getting stored as fat. And that takes a lot more energy from your body to release it.
Hmm.
To like break it down because it gets put together in these big pieces in the cell. So then it has to get broken down, taken apart, and then removed piece by piece. And it takes a lot of energy. So now like you've got no energy left because it's
Yeah,
all really hard to get. So your body's like, I'm not going to do that unless I have to.
yeah, and actually, like you were saying, it gets bonded together, right? And this is triglycerides, right?
Yeah.
It's a triple bond of glycogen, and this is triglycerides, right? This is stored energy that you can be using if we get to it, right?
Yeah.
Now, protein, on the other hand, is glucagon activating. Glucagon, and actually, as a paramedic, when we had a diabetic patient and their sugar was low, and we couldn't get an IV, right? For whatever reason, one of the things that we would do is we would give them a glucagon injection, and what that does is release sugar that's stored in the body, so in these stores, and it pulls it out and puts it into the bloodstream. And so
That's
when what's that?
that's crazy. I didn't know you guys did that.
Yeah, and so this is our body's response to not having energy, not having fuel, and this is fat burning. It's pulling it out of these storages and putting it into the blood system so you can still go. That is how people who are on like keto diets and things like that, they are fat adapted. They're using their fat for energy as
Hmm.
opposed to using sugar for energy, and just through the food that you are eating, right? So yeah, obviously it's going to get stored at some point, but it's fluidly flowing through your body, so
Yeah.
it's being pulled out, and so protein is glucagon activating, especially in the absence of excess carbohydrates. And so what we want to do is find that balance where we eat and insulin goes up a little bit, right? So we use a little bit and then it brings us back down to normal. And then we get hungry after, a small fast, and then we eat again, right? If those insulin levels are high often, right, we become resistant to insulin. So if you've heard of insulin resistance, this is like the path to pre-diabetes and then into type 2 diabetic, right? If it's almost like if you spray perfume, right? So pretend that insulin is perfume. You use that. You have tons of carbohydrates, and you go, whoo, like, oh man, did somebody just put on perfume? But if you're in that long enough, all of a sudden your body goes, oh, I didn't even smell it anymore, and you wouldn't notice it unless you walk out of the room and come back in. You go, oh man, there it is again. Well,
Hmm.
so if my carbohydrates are high all the time, if my insulin levels are high all the time, your body starts becoming resistant to it. Now your body has to produce more to get the same effect. And so number one, we're in actively storing mode often, right? We're craving more carbohydrates, or even just being more hungry, and we're probably gaining body fat. And this is a short road to things like, so just metabolic derangement, right? And things like prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. So what we want to do is find those other sources of food, like your vegetables, right? Like your protein, where you're a little bit more neutral, right? And actually fat along those same lines is hormonally neutral. So if we are eating the protein and fat that we need, and we're getting those vegetables, which are like it's a low density of carbohydrates, we're able to keep that blood sugar nice and flowing. We're able to keep glucagon activating, and so we're using fat for fuel, and we're able to work longer, right? Because you can only hold so much carbohydrate. So when people carb load, right, your body can only hold so much, and um and so if like stored in the muscles, right,
Hmm.
and once you use that up, that's why people on marathons and stuff like that, they're taking a little bit of a hit because they can't store enough. But we have storage for days when it comes to body fat, especially if we're trying to lose weight. So even
Yeah.
a very lean person can last for long periods of time on fat storage. And so if we're looking to lose weight, we probably don't need to store much of anything.
Yep. Have you ever seen the snake diet guy?
No.
Because that's what he talks about, fasting for like a month. He's like, if you're, 50 pounds overweight, you've got weeks of energy,
Yeah.
so you don't have to eat.
Don't do it, anybody.
No, don't do that.
Please don't. Stop bringing that up. But
Uh,
anyway, all right. So we protein. All right. So protein and fats are necessary. Carbohydrates can be beneficial, but they're not necessary.
yeah,
Right.
and like we said, they're just way too available. That's
Right.
the biggest.
So now the biggest thing is finding out how much do I need. And so if you are using MyFitnessPal or some kind of tracking app, or you're measuring your food, now it's not going to be exact, right? This is a science experiment all the time. There's steps that you can take to get into a pretty good space, but we have to find out how our body is responding to the foods that we have. And one great way to start is the 40-30-30, right? And so even just 40% carbs and 30% protein and fat, and going from there. And am I losing weight? Am I even keeping track of the calories that I have, right? Am I hitting the same number of calories and macronutrients per day? And if I'm not, I can't really tell what if things are working or not,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, in my mind, the simplest way to
Mm-hmm.
get closer to that balance is what you were talking about right at the beginning, is shifting the quality of your food.
Mm-hmm.
If you start eating only things that, like I said, came straight from the source, where like whatever, your vegetables and your meats, you could potentially take it from its natural state to your plate today.
Mm-hmm.
If you start doing that, eating whole foods, uh, you're already going to cut that or improve that balance like
Mm-hmm.
quickly, because there are no extremely dense, you're not going to have the high volume of highly dense caloric food, right?
Right.
Unless you're only eating fruit all day, but even that, you've got fiber with it. If you're eating meat and your vegetables, like, it's going to be very difficult, much more difficult to overeat that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And really what we want to do is we want to set our body up to thrive, right? There's plenty of foods that we can eat and in any combinations that make us survive. We're still alive. Now, some of them I would dare say that it is killing you, right? There are plenty of ways that, like, now it's very slowly. It's not going to be overnight, but even just things like you know whether it's cholesterol,
Alcohol.
high blood pressure, alcohol, right? All these things, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. This is like your body is deteriorating, right? And so we want to set ourselves up to thrive, and with any of these macronutrients and even just food in general. So second part of Nutrition 101, right? So part one, eat meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar. Part two is keep intake to levels that support exercise and not body fat, right? And now, again, this is going to be different for everybody. But what this does, like when you start getting into that quantity and getting the right precision in that quantity, and high level athletes are going to do this, right? This is what they're doing, especially in the CrossFit world. They are
Mm.
dialed in to exactly what they're eating, right? But this is like a fire, right? If you want a fire to burn, you need fuel. And how much fuel, right? If you put a crap ton of wood on a small fire, it's going to smother it and it's going to go out, right? If you don't have enough, it's going to smother and go out. But we need to keep stoking that fire, and we're going to move stuff around, and we're going to get that sucker burning hot, and it's going to be blazing. And this is the dang it, there goes the lights again. And this is where we're thriving. And one of the, even in the CrossFit world, you go, all right, I'm doing exercise, I'm going to lose body fat, I'm going to be super healthy. And it's like, if you are not doing the nutrition piece, and so number one, starting with quality, and then going into the quantity and the precision in the quality, or in the quantity, you are getting half the results, right? You're
Maybe.
probably right. You're probably going to be getting um, plenty of like work capacity, right? If you're getting enough food, you're probably gonna run a little bit faster. You're gonna get a little bit stronger, right? All these things. You might even lose a pant size or something like that, right? But if you want to really thrive and push it from sick, well, all the way to fitness, right? Because this is the hedge against chronic disease, right? Then I need to be putting both, like just as much work into both of them, and no longer think like, what am I going to eat, right? This question is crazy. It's like I already know what I'm going to eat. I'm gonna
Hmm.
now it might be like, what choice am I going to have? Like, so what type of meat am I going to have? Or like, what type of protein, like lean protein, am I going to have? What kind
Yep.
of vegetables? And now we can adjust that to the flavor of the day. But I already know what I'm going to eat when I eat. I'm looking for that choice. So even, if you're looking to lose body fat, right? And actually, even if you're just looking for long-term health, eating out is not a great decision, right? But when you go, like, so, people always go, well, what about Chipotle? Isn't that good? It's like, it depends.
Right.
What are you getting from there? Right. And so if I walk in there, I'm gonna say, all right, what has the most fresh vegetables, right? So not just like soaked in oils and things like that. And what has the most lean meat? I'm gonna get that. And now, yes, I can add in some carbohydrates. I can add in some avocado, and so I'm getting my fats and things like that. But getting that base and looking for the essentials first, right? What two macronutrients are essential? Protein and fat, right? So how can I get those? And then I can fix the rest, because again, you're going to get inundated with carbohydrates. I don't even know if that's the right word. It
Yeah,
is inundated.
I think
That,
that
that
works.
that was a big word that just flowed out of my mouth, and I don't use those too often. I was like, is that a word? I don't know how to spell it. That's for sure.
Yeah, but you also don't know how to spell protein.
Good point. Good point. I'm just not good at typing. So yeah, so chasing the performance, right? And looking for the essentials first when it comes to your macronutrients.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, well, so chasing performance and that thriving,
Hmm.
because there are three things you can focus on: performance, aesthetics, and health.
Hmm.
And so, if you put more focus into one, you're going to sacrifice the others. So, performance, if you think like power lifter, humongous guys, not healthy, right? Not aesthetic as
Yeah.
far as like body composition, but top of the world performance. Or bodybuilders who might not have the highest performance, and again, their health might not be great,
Hmm.
but they've got the body composition. And then health, I always think of like the vegan vegetarians who are focused on health, but you've sacrificed your performance and your aesthetic for that one idea.
Right.
And so finding that balance where like I'm happy with my aesthetics, with my body composition, I'm happy with my performance, and my blood levels are good. I'm not having insulin resistance. I'm not getting sick all the time. I'm feeling healthy. If you can find that balance, and it doesn't have to be perfectly even. I was
Right.
just thinking about this the other day. A friend of mine has gotten into bodybuilding
Hmm.
big time, and I was just thinking like, it's crossed my mind bodybuilding, but then I'd have to sacrifice performance. Where like personally, I want to have a fast mile time and a fast Fran time, and like
Yeah, and you're looking to try and beat me in the Open next year, since
yeah, exactly.
since
So I'm
I,
like,
even though I'm how many years older than 7 years?
right.
I mean,
And I
almost a
mean, it's
decade.
and it's super easy to look better than you. So,
Yeah, performance, thriving, thriving. Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
yeah,
anyway, so
it,
keeping that in mind as you're approaching this stuff of like what is my top priority and how do I tailor this to those priorities?
yeah. And and it's like a Venn diagram. So you got your three little circles and you got your health,
Yep.
your performance and body composition. And there is a spot in the middle, right? And yeah, at certain times in your life, you might be pushing those a little bit off to the outer edges, and that's totally fine. But we're looking to find that sweet spot, and that's where you're probably going to be for most of your life, right? So, there might be a time where you are performing as an athlete, and you might be having more carbohydrates, more sugars, and or even just more fat, just to really last in the sport that you're doing, and that is okay. Now, one thing that they have shown, which is really interesting, because with the if it fits your macros, it's like, yeah, go ahead and have as much sugar as you want, but as long as it fits, right? Yeah, you're not eating very much food and whatever, but
Right.
that hey, you're happy. They've shown that despite body composition and performance, large doses of sugar for long periods of time is still detrimental to your health long term, and actually more increased risk of diabetes. So you go, well, like, and I think they did this with a rowing team, and rowers expend a lot of energy, almost like swimmers and like things like that. But lots of times they're just downing sugar to keep energy high, right?
Hmm.
And even just get calories in because they're burning so much. And they found a substantially high risk of diabetes later in life, even though they had great body composition and things like that. So that is something to keep your eye on when it comes to fitting your macros. It's like, yeah, that it's good for body composition to keep those in check. Like, hey, I had I was having donuts after my workouts and stuff like that, but how much are you doing that? And do you have that base of meat and vegetables, nuts and seeds, some fruit, little starch, no sugar, for the most part?
Hmm.
And you'll probably be fine. So make sure that you have that first, and then you can start going off the script a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said at the beginning, basics. Focus on the fundamentals.
Yep.
And when you've done that, start again and pay better attention.
There you go. I think we should leave it there.
Boom.
Eat your good food. All right, you guys, we will see you next week for Do That But Better. Have a great week.
See you later.